My big main advice, and I'd say there's a lot of bits of advice that I give, and as a faculty in residence, I give it all the time to the students that live in my residence hall. But one of the things I always like to point out to students is that you should not think of college as an extension of high school. You should think of college as an extension of the world that you're going to live in after college. It's the extension before it rather than coming out of high school. So college professors are not really doing the same kind of work as high school teachers. The kinds of assignments you're given, the work you're given, it's not really comparable to sort of the homework that you were assigned in high school. And I think a lot of first years, what happens during the period of the entire freshman year is students coming in thinking, well, I was great in high school, this is going to be a breeze, and then realizing it's a totally different world. And there's a kind of growing pains that happens in that first year. And I try to tell the students to realize this as soon as you can. And just to give you an example, you take a chemistry class in high school, and it's oftentimes, at least this is the case in my high school, it's a high school chemistry teacher that's teaching a textbook and maybe some supplementary kind of materials. But if you take chemistry here at Duke or any other university, it's with a professor of chemistry who probably wrote that textbook and has written all sorts of things that are too advanced to even make it into an undergraduate curriculum. And so if you're majoring in chemistry, you're essentially a kind of an apprentice in the world of scientific knowledge production. And that's the case with history, that's the case with literature, that's the case with music. And so that's just one, for instance, sort of one example of how college really isn't an extension of high school. And there's a myriad ways where it's not helpful to think of it as an extension. And I think the best thing the student can do in that transition is just keep that in mind. This world is not like the world I've inhabited so far. It's a different world, and I just need to keep everything open and see how it's different and accept that difference. If you are seeking out a mentor, first of all, the way to do it is through classes, to take a class. That's the best way you're going to get a sense of what the professor is like. If you've never taken a class with a professor and you just want them to mentor you, you really have no sense of what they're like and what your relationship to them might actually be. So if you are interested in seeking out a mentor, I would say start taking classes. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking more than one class. If the class was fantastic and mainly because of the prof, just keep taking classes with them. It doesn't, I mean, even if it's like a very different subject matter that you're not necessarily interested in, they're gonna make it interesting because you know that their teaching style is good. And I would say once you've developed a coursework relationship with the professor, then that's the time, I think, to approach them as a mentor. I recommend it doesn't always get heard, even though, again, as I say, the data does support it. To follow a major or a line of intellectual inquiry that speaks to you, that is of interest to you, because none of the majors here are going to translate into a job. It just doesn't work that way. If you want to go into tech or something, you could take requisite courses in the comp sci department. We have an excellent comp sci department. If you don't want to major or even minor in comp sci, that's fine too. You can just take the courses and kind of move on. Most jobs train you anyway. And as I say, what they're looking for is someone who's smart and someone who can learn quickly. And I think demonstrating that is probably better for an employer than saying I have this incredibly limited set of, I wouldn't even call it expertise, because finishing an undergraduate major doesn't make you an expert. I mean, that's just how it works. So follow what you like, because it probably is going to mean that's what you're good at.